I was working for Lockheed Aircraft at the time. I and another friend went down to San Diego that weekend. It was on a Sunday, I think, and we were on the beach, and we heard that Pearl Harbor is bombed. And when I reflect back on it, the Japanese could have come right in on that beach if they'd have known how ill prepared we were. But my buddy, the buddy I was with, he says, we were civilians then, you know. He said, my brother will have to go to the Army. And turns out he had to go and his brother never did. Seemed like after when Pearl Harbor hit, everybody just banded together and they had a job to do, and everybody was gung-ho.
I had a job there at a little neighborhood grocery store, and I can remember the rationing that we had to be very careful to get the meat points and the canned goods, and tissue and Kleenex were so hard to get. So when we did get a truckload of that, we would put them under the counter and just take it out for our good customers, not just everybody. But that doesn't sound very nice, but that's what we had to do.
I commanded a company of German prisoners of war, and as a company commander, the normal duties of seeing that the regulations were kept, that the company runs smoothly. I think they were well behaved as any group of men of 250 in the company, that you're going to have some people that are going to give you some problems. And they were taken care of. Their punishment, 3 days bread and water. One of the other punishments, which I understand, was their heads were shaved, and that apparently was a real problem with Germans at that time. Of course, as far as the Germans were concerned, was spelled out in the Geneva Convention what kind of punishment could be given. I had no hand in that. It was, we had a camp commander who took care of those things. I think the German prisoners were treated pretty well. I think that they got a good idea of what America was like, how democracy worked, and I think it was a good learning experience for the Germans. They saw that we had many different people in the United States Army. We weren't all just one, that we were willing to accept people of another race, let's put it that way. We had one unfortunate circumstance, and that was a branch camp at Salina, California, where a guard in a tower fired his machine gun into the sleeping Germans and killed 9 of them. I investigated that case, and when I went to interview him, he was in the psychiatric ward at one of the hospitals. I never knew what happened to him, whether he was punished or not. That was a bad experience.
I said, I want to get out of this this reservation. I want to go somewhere where there's a lot of big houses and tall buildings. I wanted to see those buildings. I got to see them in Minneapolis, and that was a different life. I went into a different world. I was overseas 18 months. I was a sailor. That one morning, I got up to eat. I looked, and these big waves, 20-foot waves going up, dead bodies, Japanese. The sharks would feed on them. I'd see 200-300 floating in the waves. You bring tears to your eyes. But I saw all I wanted to see. I said, I'm going to go back to the horses.
When I went overseas, I was what they call on loan to the Royal Air Force. And then with a bunch more training, I was eventually posted to Italy as a pathfinder. We led the bombers to the target, found it, and you light up the target just like daylight, so they can't miss it. We were at 5,000 feet, and when we were hit at the bottom of our aircraft, it exploded, and the plane eventually starts to go down. We didn't wear our parachutes. We had a harness, they call it, and you would just, we kept it beside it, and you hooked up in front, and you better make sure it's on right. And I got the hell out. I fell in right beside the cornfield. They can see you come down because it's all lit up like daylight. And they trying to round you up, and they did. I hurt my ankle just a bit, but not too bad, because if you were injured, you were not taken prisoner. That's a known fact. They didn't have room for that. And so I was taken as a prisoner. One thing that's interesting, when I was interviewed by the German officer when I was taken prisoner, they knew I was from Canada, and he looked at me for what looked like a bloody eternity. And he just said, in plain English, "Did you play hockey?" It's the first thing he said, just to watch your expressions. And he said, "I went to school in the USA." You're a German officer. How'd you like that?
I was on a destroyer escort in the Pacific, and I was gun captain, number 1 gun. And I guess my vivid memories, a gun captain is just supposed to make sure that everything is set right and controlled right and run right. And that's number 1 gun is on the front end of the forecastle of the ship. And that's where I was supposed to be positioned, and I was. And our first loader, the 5-inch gun had a recoil of about 13 inches, and you load it with a Brett Mitchell. You load it with by hand, of course, with the ammunition, which was 3 foot long and that big around, and you put it in there. And one of the times that stick in my mind, I guess probably the most, is our number 1 gunner, which was the guy that loaded the gun with the breech down. He didn't get his arm out of there, and the recoil got him and broke his arm. Well, we was in battle, so who takes over but me? I have to take over. Yeah. And I guess what I remember much about that is I'm 18 years old, and most of those guys are 25 or 30, and I'm supposed to be telling them what to do. I never really was very good at that.
I was teaching my first year in teaching. The day of Pearl Harbor, we were invited to our friends for a dinner, which we didn't have a radio on or anything, and we got in the car to drive back home, and we heard about the bombing of Pearl Harbor, and the next day it was when we heard Roosevelt declaring war. It just was a big shock when they bombed Pearl Harbor. And we were in war now. The salaries weren't the greatest at that time. The first year I taught for $55 a month, but I stayed at home. Second year I taught for $60 a month, but I paid room and board of $15 a month. But I had to share a room with a 7th grade girl, and I walked the mile to school. They had a great blizzard in November that year, and I was lucky I was walking the direction the wind was blowing, because I didn't hardly touch the ground just going. But quite a few people in the state lost their life during that blizzard.
Then I went overseas in end of October '42. landed in England. I couldn't keep warm. I kept getting colds. And I finally got bronchopneumonia and had to go to the hospital. When I come out of the hospital, they sent me to the commander of the camp. He says, we need good workers in the kitchen. He says, I heard you were a cook. I said, yeah. So that's where I got stuck for the rest of the war. I fed troops. There was a camp that trains used to bring from the ships. We fed them for a week or so, dispersed them out to different units. Then next week there was another. I dodged a few bombs. The bomb dropped not very far away, a 500-pounder, and there was a hole. You could put a house in it. That's the time when I got knocked out of bed. Yeah, you had to stay away from a building with glass, or otherwise you'd be shattered with glass. Oh, there was a time there was a plane come over and started strafing the troops on the grace. Didn't hit any because there was bush on both sides, and everybody got away, but all the windows in the kitchen were blown out. Planes used to get shot up, and they dropped their bombs anywhere they felt like it, and just to get away, but they still crashed.
I was, in my younger days, going to University of Minnesota and run out of money. So I decided that I'd go into the service for a year. This was before the war. And I went down to Fort Snelling in early November of '41 and signed in. And at that time, they give you an opportunity to pick the service you wanted to go into. So I picked the Corps of Engineers. I was at my uncle's house for dinner the day that they bombed Pearl Harbor, and the whole world changed. My company and my platoon had an assignment up on a piece of high ground outside of Arzu, Africa. We sat in there that night. We set out patrols and listening posts, and we had a very strange password. It's the only time in the war that they used a password, and the password was hi-ho silver, and the answer was away. Now, this password didn't mean much to me at the time. We didn't think we would be needing passwords, but that night we had these listening posts out. Some new GIs just hitting the beach, very nervous people. And one of our lieutenants went out to check the outpost, and he was challenged 2 or 3 times, and he didn't answer, so we had our first casualty of the war, shot by our own men.
I started flying right out of high school, and I had a commercial pilot's license before I went into the Air Force. But that was really kind of a no-no, because most of the guys that had, even airline pilots that went in, washed out because they didn't learn to fly the Air Force way. And I can remember that I learned my lesson well, because I never told anybody when I went into the Air Force cadets that I had a pilot's license. So I happened to be the first one in my class to solo, but they just thought I was better than anybody else. I flew out of England all the time. Sometimes we'd fly 300 combat hours. Mine ended up as 80 missions, but sometimes we'd fly 2 and 3 missions a day. After we would escort them for a while, they would have us maybe have targets of opportunity, and which meant that you could go down and pretend you were a 10-year-old guy with a BB gun at a glass factory. You know, we could shoot up anything. And that particular airplane we flew with, P-47s, that was the most heavily armed fighter that had 850 caliber machine guns in it. And we used to shoot up a lot of water towers just to watch the water run out, you know. But it was kind of being a young guy turning somebody loose with 850 calibers with a 2,000 horsepower engine, you know, was nothing out of this world. We sure had a lot of fun.
The day we heard about Pearl Harbor, we were on a weekend leave in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And we're driving down the street, and a policeman stopped us and told us about that they had bombed Pearl Harbor and to get back to camp as soon as possible. So that we did. We went to New Caledonia, and there we trained until October, when we left for Guadalcanal. We landed in Guadalcanal on October 13th, 1942. I wasn't a line company, I was at headquarters. Oh, we did anything we could. We did a lot of hauling ammunition and food and bringing back wounded people and keeping the company supplied. And occasionally I would go on a patrol when they would want somebody to go on a patrol. I'd done 2 or 3 of those, and whatever had to be done, you did. You didn't have time to think about anything. I've been shot at a few times, bombed and strafed and mortar fire and everything that on their line of duty. But I was lucky. I never got wounded or anything. Food situation wasn't good. A lot of sea rations. Of course, when they were up on the line, well, that's about all they did have, sea rations. You didn't take hot meals up to them. We slept on the ground most of the time, right out in the open. A lot of times on the ground, you just roll up in half of that shelter belt with a blanket, and it was never cold, you know. Hot and humid. Bugs, mosquitoes, snakes, everything. And then sometimes where you get a chance to pitch a pup tent, but other than that, we never had a cot. You could sleep most any place.
In that one particular night, we had to get rid of our bombs. And on account of the electrical fire, our hydraulics had gone. That meant we had to open the bomb doors manually. And they got what they call a cookie bomber. Now, my name's Cook, but it's named after me. And they got it, and there's a 500-pound bomb was behind my seat. When we manually opened the bomb bay doors, the fire, we finally got the fire out, you know. And we had to get back to base because we couldn't go any further. So we had to jettison the bombs. So all the bombs dropped except this one bomb. And the navigator grabbed my feet. And I went down in the bomb bay, and we laugh about that after, what you do with things in a hurry. And I had my parachute on. We always flew with our Mae West and our parachute hunters over. And then right in front where it was my parachute, and you just put the parachute on. Well, he grabbed my bomb and my feet, and I went down to jam this bomb to get released in this bomb, and no parachute on. And you know, if he'd ever slept holding my feet for 16 feet, 16,000 feet in the air, I was down right to the North Sea. Fortunately, we got it out. We always laughed the crew after it came back.
Being from North Dakota, I was the only one in our outfit, and that's why my plane was named the Dakota Kid. My crew chief done that, named the Dakota Kid. I don't think there's anybody in our outfit, or in most of them, were going out there with the attitude of killing that pilot. They wanted to destroy the airplane. If the thing blew up, so be it. When I hit this one ME-109 and I see the motor exploded on him, caught fire, and then just buff. So I went after another one, and this guy, he didn't bail out. He pulled off to the side, and my crew or my number 2 man called me, and he says, "The guy that you hit," he said, "he's straightened out." Well, I said, "He's got a dead motor." And I said, "Oh," he said, "I think he's flying all right." Well, how are you going to go back home and tell him you destroyed one, and your wingman says you fly? So I said, "Where's he at?" He said, 5 o'clock low. And I looked back down here. So I just flipped it on and poured the throttle to it. And that's the fastest I've ever flown in an airplane, 580 miles an hour. And when he seen me coming, he bailed out. And I flew alongside him, off the sideways. I waved at him, and he waved back at me. So we didn't dare shoot the Germans in their parachute because of the fact of all the B bombers and the B-17s and the B-24. If their personnel had to bail out, or even our own fighters, we had too much to lose by shooting there on there. So actually, we found out after the war that the Germans also gave us good credit for not destroying their pilots.
After the Japanese had sued for surrender, the Minneapolis was selected as the flagship for Admiral Kincaid to go into Korea and accept the surrender of Japanese forces. And the task force was made up of the Minneapolis, a destroyer, and a hospital ship. The hospital ship was along because they expected that there would be some prisoner of war we'd be able to recover and bring back to the ships. And there were, but there were not very many Americans that I'm aware of. It was mostly British, and especially the Australians. Disembarked in single file, they were walking down towards the beach. And here these Aussies were that had been incarnated for 5 years or something like this, and they still had the good old spirit. They were singing these snappy military tunes. And there was one especially that I can recall. His leg had been badly injured, and he hadn't had proper medical attention. And he had a crutch, but it was not a regular crutch. It was one that was homemade out of a tree limb. And he was coming down the beach. He stumbled. Captain Rinka saw this, and we had corpsmen with us, and he dispatched the corpsmen to assist him. The Australian waved him off. I guess that he had waited all this time. He wasn't about to be taken on a stretcher. He stumbled again, and the captain sent the corpsman again. Well, this time he accepted him, but he didn't crawl into the stretcher himself. He threw his crutch into the stretcher and put his arms around the corpsman, and he kept singing. And our captain brought our squad to present arms. Many times that we had saluted, presented arms, for rank and file. But this was such an honor to be saluting real courage, real patriotism, real stubbornness, because those men had to be stubborn to survive the Japanese prison camps. Over 45% of our prisoners died either of malnutrition, mistreatment, or disease while they were in the Japanese prison camps. So I have so much respect, and I often think how lucky we are to have our freedom.
To order all 3 episodes of World War II Prairie Memories on one DVD, call 1-800-359-6900 or visit www.prairiepublic.org.